Yes, it's your girl Petty Paige, back at it again with yet another video for you hoes. Welcome to the second installment of Keep That Same Energy Day here on Petty Paige. I told you guys I was going to be coming through with multiple videos. This is the second installment, so I hope you guys are... excuse me, I just needed to burp then. I hope you guys are just as excited as I am for today's video. So I'm going to be talking to you guys about the whole Shane Dawson situation with his cat. By now there should be a few videos at least about this already. However, I will be sharing my thoughts and my opinions, and once again it's a controversial one, so I hope you guys will stay tuned to hear what my opinion is on this entire situation. Before we get into it, we'll dive straight after this intro.
Most of these bitches is petty, 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 petty. Most of these bitches is petty.
Okay, so by now we should all know who Shane Dawson is. I've made multiple videos on Shane Dawson, so I am not going to be doing a 60-second rundown. He is literally like the godfather of YouTube. So we all know who he is. I'm not doing a 60-second rundown in this video, so it should keep the video shorter and briefer for you guys. But also, I just want to talk about the whole entire situation that happened with his cat, Cheeto. Now, unfortunately, I did not capture the screenshot of the original person who posted this podcast, but somebody had posted it on Twitter, a podcast of Shane Dawson talking about his alleged experience that he may or may not have had with his cat Cheeto. I'll get you guys to take a listen to it and I will give my thoughts after.
The things I've done to my poor animals, they will never love me. I've done terrible things. I used to... Well,
oh no, I don't know if you want to go there, Shane. What'd you do?
One time, I laid my cat down on her back.
Are you gonna get arrested for this?
I don't know. No.
Think about it.
I don't think so.
Okay, go ahead.
I laid the cat down on her back, and then I moved her little chicken legs, like, you know, spread open or whatever. And I was like, if I just, like, hump, but, like, on her tummy, like, that's not weird. Like, whatever. And then I humped it, and it kept going, like, all over the cat.
No, you did not.
It was, like, my first experience.
No
I was also,
way.
like, 19, so it's like, you know.
Wait a minute.
Wait a second. Did you just say you my cat?
Guys, I think...
Okay, so basically Shane Dawson talks about a sexual experience that he had with his cat Cheeto, where he laid the cat on its back, proceeded to hump the cat, and then came on the cat's chest. When I originally heard this, I was like, this can't be real. First of all, I don't know about anybody else's cats, but I've got 2 cats. My cats would straight scratch my face off if I tried to do anything like that to them. Not that I would. Even if I try and hold them, they try and like beat me up. So I was like, how does he have like such a mild-mannered cat that would allow that to happen? And I know this sounds crazy, and maybe it's because I'm a bit of a cat person, but I actually went over to Shane Dawson's YouTube channel to have a look at videos that Cheeto has been featured in. Cheeto is a very, very docile cat. He is definitely a lap cat who wants to be held and cuddled and petted all the time. Something that I will never experience with my 2 evil bastards of kittens. But yeah, so I mean, take a look at visually exactly what I'm talking about.
That's love. Yeah? Yeah, you like it? Yeah? I'm liking this too much.
Yeah, so as you can see, Shane Dawson has like the world's most loving and docile cat ever. High-key jealous, okay? Cheeto seems like a bundle of fun, and my cats won't go anywhere near me. I'm so alone. But with that being said, it did definitely make me look at this whole story with a bit of a side eye, because I'm like, he's got the kind of cat that would probably let stuff happen to them, whereas I've got very independent cats. I don't know. But let's just talk a little bit more about the story and the situation at hand. So basically, there was a public uproar on social media, most notably Twitter. Shane Dawson was actually trending in the United Kingdom. I hear that he was also trending in the US, over in the States. I don't know how many other countries it was that he was trending last night, but last night around 1 a.m. ish, because I was in bed, Shane Dawson was trending because of the podcast that had gained some traction on social media. The views and opinions regarding this was actually quite split. I would say the Black Twitter or POC Twitter was very much so less accommodating to the idea that this could have been a prank or, you know, a sketch of some kind, whereas I'd say the rest of Twitter was, you know, of the mind frame that it was a joke and we need to let it go. Some people in defense of this podcast even went as far as to say that the entire podcast wasn't shown and that there was a specific part of the podcast that everybody missed, which was immediately after, where Shane Dawson had said that he'd never done this and it was a joke. Well, that wasn't entirely true. Take a listen.
The things I've done to my poor animals, they will never love me. I've done terrible things. I used to...
Oh, no. I don't know if you want to go there, Shane. What'd you do?
One time, I laid my cat down on her back.
Are you going to get arrested for this?
I don't know. No.
Think about it.
I don't think so.
Okay, go ahead.
I laid the cat down on her back and then I moved her little chicken legs, like, you know, spread open or whatever. And I was like, if I just like hump, but like on her tummy, like that's not weird, like whatever. And then I humped it, and it kept going, like all over the cat.
No, you did not.
It was like my first sexual experience.
No
I was also
way.
like 19, so it's like, you know.
Wait a minute.
Wait a second. Did you just say you came on a cat?
Guys, I think I have to put money in the meter.
Yeah, right?
But you know, who likes cats? I never did anything like that. Well, I never did anything crazy like that.
Maybe that's why you don't like pussy anymore.
No,
So to briefly reread what he said, I never did anything like that. Well, I never did anything crazy like that to my dog.
But you know, who likes cats? I never did anything like that. Well, I never did anything crazy like that.
Maybe that's why you don't like pussy anymur
No,
So he was actually referring to his dog, and he definitely wasn't referring for furries. Anywho, sorry, my mind's going elsewhere. But he wasn't referring to anything else. He wasn't referring to his cat. The cat situation he was making out to be real, but he'd never done anything like that to his dog. Speaking of dogs, I can't believe I'm doing this. There is an old video that has been resurrected throughout this whole scandal. It's a video from Trisha Paytas' second channel titled Trisha Paytas, and it's a video titled Puppy Love. In that video, there was some definite puppy loving going on with a French kiss between Shane Dawson and a dog. Take a look.
Look at him, he's like, queen, give me a cashew.
Queen. Out of his mouth. So gross.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Me. That was me when I was in 8th grade.
Oh my god.
He does this every time.
She gets over it very quick.
He's over it. That was so weird.
So yeah, that's pretty much the narrative that's been spun on social media, that he is into that kind of stuff and was very inappropriate with his pets. Now, I don't know how much of that I believe, to be perfectly honest. I don't know if I personally believe that he is a animal or pet abuser. However, Shane did respond to the backlash. He said, I didn't blank my cat. I did not blank on my cat. I didn't put my blank anywhere near my cat. I've never done anything weird with my cats. I promised myself that I wasn't going to make apology videos after last year's thing, so I'm going to try and be as short and as honest with this as possible. I've apologised many times for all the dirt I've said in videos and podcasts over the years. I've learnt my lesson over and over again, and I'm more confident now in my ability to be entertaining by just being myself and not being shocking for laughs. That story was fake and based on a dumb, awful sketch idea I had years ago that I never made, thank God. And when the opportunity came up for a funny moment in the podcast, I told it as if it was a real story, which was disgusting and very, very dumb. My goal with the podcast and my videos years ago was to tell shocking stories that would make people laugh and scream, oh my God, you didn't. And I think I was like so crazy, but it's embarrassing and I hate myself for it. Now that I'm making stuff that I love and I'm being myself, it feels so much better. I finally feel like I'm putting stuff out into the world that means something. I'm not saying I hate everything I've ever made over the years. There's so many things that I'm proud of, but all of my offensive jokes, over-the-top stories and insensitive jokes are something that still haunt me and something that I'll have to be faced with every day on the internet. It never gets easier. So I'm sorry for what I said about my cat. I'm sorry for what I said about anything or anyone that was offensive. I'm sorry for being someone who thought that being super offensive and shocking all the time was funny. I'm sorry for my past, but I'm really to make it right, and I think he means I'm trying to make it right. And I feel like without my past, I wouldn't be who I am today, and I wouldn't be able to grow and spend my energy on things that actually mean something. This has been the best 2 years of my life, and it's because I've been able to drop the act and be myself. And I'm sorry for not doing it sooner. I think in terms of influencer apologies, this is pretty good. It's really nice and refreshing not to see it on a notepad. So props to you. Props to you for that. But I do want to talk a little bit about the mentality that has been going on across social media in regards to Shane Dawson. There seems to be this thing, and I don't know what this is, and I understand that he is pretty much the godfather of YouTube, and he's been around for such a long time, he's got longevity, and a lot of people go to him when they want their channel reboosted, when they want, you know, anything positive to happen. I mean, the only person it's never worked for positively doing a collaboration with, Shane Dawson is probably Bobby Burns, and that's the only person it hasn't worked out for. Everybody else, it seems to have been a positive experience for them and their channel. So he's kind of somewhat become a saint within the YouTube community. But the issue that I have with that is that we have this inability as a community on YouTube to call out somebody on their behaviour. And I want to make this clear as I go on as well, that this is not about Shane Dawson. Shane Dawson did an amazing apology, and honestly I could not ask for any more in terms of an effective apology on this kind of a situation when it is a circumstance that is going to be arising over and over again. I think he did a brilliant job. However, what I do want to talk about is everybody's cumulative mentality when it comes to people of high influence such as Shane Dawson, who have a reputable reputation, and all of a sudden something bad happens and we're not holding them accountable for their words or their actions. Keeping in tune and in focus with Keep That Same Energy Day here on the Petty Paige channel, I wanted to make sure that we keep that same energy across board. And I feel like once again this is another situation where everybody isn't keeping that same energy. For instance, we all remember that last year when Dramageddon ensued, that Laura Lee posted some stuff that happened several years ago, and racially insensitive stuff that has now literally followed her throughout the rest of her YouTube career, to the point that she has really struggled to recover from this entire situation. You know, if we're sitting there saying that those things that you said 4 or 5 years ago mean something now, then why can't we use that same energy when it comes to, say, somebody who is more loved or well liked within the YouTube community, like Shane Dawson, and say what you said back then still has meaning today? We had Laura Lee, who, due to some racially insensitive tweets that she made way back when, lost a hell of a lot of sponsors, a hell of a lot of endorsements from brands, and a hell of a lot of people are now unwilling to work with her, and that's something that she's going to have to build up over time. However, that same energy is not projected when somebody does something that I personally consider as far worse, far more condemning. When I posted my thoughts about this on social media, on Twitter, the opinion that I was confronted with was pretty much that, oh well, Laura Lee, we don't really care about what happened to Laura Lee because she was a horrible person and Shane isn't. And I'm like, dude, like that's neither here nor there. You could be the greatest person in the whole entire world, but if you make a bad decision, you should be called out on said decision, regardless of who you are. So let's take it even further. Let's take it into the celebrity domain. A lot of you guys will know back in December 2018, Kevin Hart had to pull out as the host of the Oscars after having 2 years running, with it being Jimmy Kimmel who had hosted the Oscars. we were excited as a community, as a POC community, to have, you know, another black man come and represent for the Oscars and host that amazing event. But due to some homophobic comments that he made in a stand-up show, which literally was the one stand-up show that propelled him to the stardom that he has now, because this joke that he made did not have sticking power, did not age well, years and years after the fact, he was forced to leave the Oscars, and his career has kind of somewhat come to somewhat of a standstill. As in, the video that I'm showing you now in the background is a YouTube Red series that he's doing on LOL Network. And Kevin Hart has even said in interviews that his plans for 2019, since this situation that happened with the Oscars, that all he wants to do is focus on black-owned productions, such as, I think he produced and directed a movie recently that he did with Tiffany Haddish, and I think he wants to do more things like that in his career rather than doing these bigger Hollywood productions like when he co-starred alongside The Rock, you know. But this is the joke. Take a look at it. It didn't age very well, but take a look.
Another kid getting f***ing ass and I'll calm down.
As you can see, it wasn't his best joke. I think he's got smarter and funnier jokes, if I'm perfectly honest. However, it didn't age very well. And now, at the time in 2018, but now in 2019, these kind of jokes just aren't acceptable. Not in the same way that they were those years ago. Because of this, he's had to make a public apology. In fact, he did an interview with TMZ. Take a look.
Homosexuality right now is in a place where it's not a joke to them. And I don't even like to use the word them, okay? The words and terms that were used at a certain point in time are considered slander, are considered violent terms due to the fact of all of the hate crimes that have been had and all of the verbal attack that people have had, whether it be in school, whether it be in a work environment. It's blown up to a bigger thing. So I personally don't think it's funny. I don't joke about it. I don't want that problem. I don't need any enemies at all. And I've seen comedians that have said things, and I've seen them
It can stop a career. Let's be honest.
What? Stop a career? That's an understatement. It can throw you under the bus, man.
So after an open public apology that he made via social media, as well as speaking to TMZ about his thoughts on the whole entire situation, I do believe at this very moment in time, maybe I could be wrong, maybe it needs more time, but Kevin Hart's career has pretty much come to a little bit of a standstill. He was doing and making stuff all the time. He was on the pulse. He was constantly being shown everywhere. And now we're at a position where I don't really see Kevin Hart so much. In fact, I see more of him on social media than I probably do anywhere else. I don't see him on mainstream television in the same way that I did before, you know? And that was a whole situation that was surrounding a joke where he got penalized because of a joke that he made. So if we are ruining and destroying careers over a joke, then we need to keep that same energy once again across the board. But with this whole situation with Shane Dawson, we've already had one situation where we made an inappropriate joke about a minor. We've also had another situation where he basically said that there should be a fetish rather than, you know, a crime, which was also supposed to be a joke. We've also got obviously the past situation with him doing blackface and all of those other things, saying the N-word frequently and flippantly in videos, that he's also apologized for and said that these were a joke. I am all for movement, and I know for the past 2 years this is not something that he has exhibited. However, we do have to look at it as a case-by-case situation. I'm going to look at this situation that has happened with this cat, with what he has said, just as equally as anything else that may arise in the future. We need to look at these things as individual case matters. Instead of sitting there saying he apologized so it's over, he said it was a joke so it's over. Because here's my question to you. If all those tweets and all those things that Laura Lee had said way back when that she was penalised for, she turned round right now and said it was a joke, would y'all deal with that? Because I don't think you would. I sure as hell wouldn't. With this whole situation that's been happening recently with Romeo Lacoste, I spoke about it in my previous video. If he turned around after all of this, after all that's been said, and he was like, oh, but I was joking, would y'all deal with that? Because I really don't think you would. But we don't keep that same energy with every individual across the board. The amount that somebody is loved and somebody's reputation or strength of reputation should not be a factor when judging them as an individual. And that is all that I am trying to say in this situation. The amount of times that when I was speaking about this publicly on social media, that people were condemning me or turning around and saying that I was a clown or whatever for even having an opinion, for even wanting to make a video on this whole entire situation, when there are more important stories to be covering, it just really made me realise that nobody actually wanted to see that this is an individual who makes mistakes. And do you know what's the worst part of it all? Is that he apologised so effectively that I kind of feel like, okay, I'm going to put this to the side. I don't see him exhibiting that exact same behaviour in today. But it is something that I'm going to keep my eye open for. Because I will be damned if in months or weeks or years to come that I am confronted with something that is damning in that same way that so many other people have had things come out that have been completely damning. I will be damned if I did not look at each thing that happened as an individual case-by-case basis, and I didn't at least look at the signs. And as far as I'm concerned, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Same goes with like another controversial YouTuber, which is Jeffree Star, you know? I'll look at everything as a case-by-case basis. And I'll keep my eyes open. Trust and believe I'm not just sitting here pretty thinking, oh, everything's gonna be fine, girl. No, I'm keeping my eyes open. And if something happens, then I'm gonna put my foot on somebody's neck. But until that happens, I ain't about to do shit. And this is exactly how I'm dealing with this situation. So I've got my eyes open. And there's nothing wrong with having your eyes open. Because having your eyes open means that you're not going to be easily or blindly influenced. And that's the real tea. Anyway, as per always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like it, if you don't, I don't give a shit anyway. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification with the bell so that you guys get a notification every single time that Petty Paige posts new content. I know for a fact that there's going to be a lot of thumbs down on this video, and I am completely and utterly ready for it. But I am going to make sure that I continue to speak my truth, regardless of what the entire world says. Then I'ma be that bitch. I'ma be that bitch. And y'all can hate me for it. I don't give a shit. Anyway, that's about it from me. We've got a third video on its way, so I hope you guys will stay tuned for that. I love you guys so much, and bye.
Petty, 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 petty.